Hey guys, I'm Mark.
I'm Alen.
And welcome to another episode of The Next Man Up. Well, welcome listeners to another episode of the Next Man Up podcast. And you probably know this by now, but for those of you that are just joining us, maybe you're listening to us for the first time, we're all about equipping fathers and raising men. We believe that it's critically important for the father to help call out the man, to raise up the man in his son, and to develop the next generation of men of faith and character. And so we're using this platform to be about that purpose, and we're thankful that you have decided to join us today. And I don't do this alone. My illustrious colleague is joining me from the road today. Unfortunately, we could not make our schedules align to be in person, but his wisdom will translate through nonetheless. Alen, my friend, it's fantastic to be with you again.
Dude, good to be here with you, Mark. Fun stuff.
It's always good. I really enjoy this medium, and I enjoy the topics that we're able to get into and explore here, and and hopefully it is of benefit and value to those that are listening in. We say this often, but just because we're behind the mics doesn't necessarily mean we've got it all figured out. But I do feel, at the risk of sounding arrogant, I do feel a little bit like the Farmers Insurance commercial where the guy says, we know a thing or two because we've seen a thing or two.
You
know what I'm talking about?
Absolutely.
Between your story and mine, I think we've seen a thing or two, and are really committed to giving back to this next generation of boys that will become men that are coming behind us. Because if we don't, somebody else will, and like we say all the time, it may not. The voice that fills the void may not be the one that's best for these guys.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree. And you know what? Like for many reasons we started this, but for one reason I know of that continues to stick out too is that we just want to help dads start a conversation.
Yeah.
And so we can get siloed, or we get stuck not knowing what to say, what to do. What questions to ask as a father. There's no manual for this stuff, man. So it's just cool to be a part of something that's helping dads start conversations, and we need more of that.
I agree.
It leads to great things.
I agree. And that's a fantastic segue for something that we teased last episode, which is this father-son event that we're planning for the end of March. So let's share a few more of the details, and we won't cover everything. That you can check our Facebook page and website, or hang on to the end of the episode. We'll go through some more of the details. But we are planning a father and son event for the last Saturday of March 30th in the morning, at an escape room in downtown Columbus. And dude, nice. I am so excited. I have not yet experienced an escape room. It's on my list of things to do. And man, I'm just really excited about the concept and being able to provide a place for fathers and sons to come together and do some of this conversating that you were referring to. I know you're excited about it too.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know recently there was a movie that came out called The Escape Room.
Yes.
That is not what we're having here. So, if you're thinking that we're going to setting the room on fire and all that kind of stuff, I don't think that's what's happening.
Wait,
it'll be fun though. It'll be really cool.
Really?
Wait. We're not setting the room on fire.
No. You're right. No, this is the place is called Amaze. And again, it's downtown Columbus off of 4th Street. And I've been to their facility. I've toured their rooms. It is very family friendly. And the whole point is to bring people together so that they can work together in a in a timed and somewhat stressful environment because you're locked in a room to figure out how to get out. And there's some twists and turns that I know the game makers for these rooms have included, and I'm really excited. And in addition to the game, there'll be some good stuff that we will provide and share and work through as fathers, as sons, as fathers and sons, to really be able to, to work toward our mission, equipping fathers and raising sons.
And man, what excites me is the fact that, fathers and sons can have a chance to just hang and just be.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen all the time. I don't know about other dads, but there's times where I've looked at my kids and I've had like a Hank Hill, Bobby Hill moment where I'm like, we don't hang and do the same things a lot. So you're into this and I'm into that, but here's a moment, Dad, if you're looking for something where you and your son can come and just hang and just be and get connected into something mind-boggling and blowing and fun and exciting and entertaining, have a chance to work together to figure out things and just have a plain old good time. This is one of those moments.
Yeah.
And it's open to you. So if it's you, take advantage of it. And see if you and your son have a really, really good time.
Agree. All right. So more to come on that. Stay with us to the end of the episode or check out our information online. Okay. Well, I'm fortunate enough to have experienced a guy by the name of Louie Giglio on multiple occasions. And most recently, I heard him give a message to his target audience generally is the college and young adult age range. But I heard him give a message, and he's just a fantastic speaker, very engaging, very relevant culturally. But inside his message was a nugget that was really, really interesting. And I wanted to spend some time getting your thoughts on it this morning or today and sharing some of my thoughts. He basically outlined 6 different typical fathering types. Now, I know we did a fun episode a while back on sports dad stereotypes. This one's a little bit more serious. Let me just lay out the 5 typical types that he articulated, or 6, I guess, that he articulated, and then we can kind of come back and hit each one of them. So here they are: the absent father, both physically or mentally, the abusive father, the antagonistic father, the passive father, the performance-based father, and then finally the empowering father. And like I said, it was tucked in the midst of this message on a different topic, but he was really getting at how earthly fathers influence their children, and then the impact that has as these children grow up, and in particular how they look at our Heavenly Father. But it really struck me as wow, 5 of the 6 are negative, and yet, look, you've seen it. You've experienced it personally. You've seen it in your social circles. You see it in your daily work, and it's real, man. Yeah. It's real. So, so let's talk about this first one, the absent father.
Yeah, sure. Let's do that. Absent dad.
So I think our initial reaction would be, the physically absent dad, but this is not limited to that. You can be physically there and emotionally, relationally, just completely absent.
Checked out.
No, that's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
Checked out. And man, there's so many there's so many movie references to that one where a dad is is physically there, but they just checked out, whether it's the TV or they've had a hard day at work, or they got a lot on their minds or whatever. There's always a reason, but it always goes back to the same. They're completely checked out, and their kids know it. They could tell.
Yeah.
And it's saddening. It's very saddening. The kids that I work with, if we ever get to the point where we start talking about like dads being absent, I mean, it breaks your heart. And honestly, like I know there's been times where I've been emotionally absent, or I've been completely checked out. And man, it's like I think about the times wasted of not being there for my kids with my mind, or not being there because I've checked out for whatever reason. And it's sad, man.
Yeah.
Because those are moments that you can't get back.
That's right.
You know
That's exactly what I was thinking. You can't ever get that time back.
And once it's gone, it's gone. And it's like, the song "Cats in the Cradle and the Silver Spoon," like, we can clown that old song, but there's something in that, not just and the dad in that song, if you don't know the song, the dad in that song was always like leaving the son for a reason, and saying, the son will always ask dad, "When you coming home?" And dad will respond, "I don't know when, but we'll be together then."
Yeah.
And it was always that phrase over and over. And, it's like we say that too, even if we're there sometimes, like, hey, can we go outside and play? Can you teach me to ride a bike? Can you show me about this car? Like, what is this oil change thing that you keep talking about? Or, I'm trying to get my license, and we just keep going, yeah, tomorrow. We'll do it tomorrow. Like, nah, man, like kids remember that. They remember that. And what ends up happening is that like we set up our kids to have this picture of dad as, he's just too busy for me.
Yeah.
Or he's just too tired for me. And it breaks their hearts, man. I've experienced it myself. Like, I've absent dad. Like he's whatever, fill in the blank when it comes to me.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
that takes precedent over me. And it's heartbreaking. It really is.
I guess we talked about this in a recent episode, just around too much me time. That's one example of being absent, but it's interesting, the message that kids get, because it's a nuanced message, anywhere from my dad doesn't love me, or my dad just really needs me to stay out of the way, or the hopeful kid, that keeps waiting, maybe today. Like it affects kids differently. But the point is that instead of being absent, we got to be engaged. And we use that word, that term all the time here, because it just, it captures the essence of actively fathering. And you can't do that when you're absent.
No. And here's something I notice, like when I tend to be absent with my kids, something will come up, some kind of like, I don't know, they're going through something emotionally, or relationally, or, they seem to be off. And like, I in my mind, I'm going, man, dude, it's not the way I trained them. Or like, it's not the way I brought them up. And then I go, wait a minute, but you weren't there to train them at that moment.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I'm saying? Like we can't blame our kids is what I'm trying to say.
Yep.
When we're absent, we can't point the finger at them and go like, what are you doing wrong? Like we didn't take the time to show them a right way. You know what I'm saying? Like, so like, it's like what fathers, if you're listening and you know that this is not a guilt trip. I don't want to guilt anybody or shame anybody, because look, I want to be first to say that there's been times when I have been absent, physically, and there's been times when I've been absent, like emotionally. And so please don't hear shame, guilt. And what I do want to do So I want to encourage us who are listening and challenge us who are listening. If you know that shoe deep in your heart, like, change out the word absent to engage.
Yep.
That's it.
Yep.
And we do that in small ways, whether that's like joining your kid in something. Like one of my kids, well, actually all three girls, they love YouTube videos. So I just started watching. That's engaging.
Yeah.
Sit and be a part of their world. Like I had my son, like when he was first got an Xbox, he was playing Halo. And I sat there for like, I don't know how long trying to learn, and I stunted. He kept killing me, and then we played other people. I was getting shot, and it's like, I have no clue what I'm doing. But you know what? To him, it was, Dad is engaging me. He's coming into my world. He's being with me. That's the thing is, like, I read this book called First 2 Years of Youth Ministry. It was written by this youth group, youth pastor guru. And in it, one of the main things he said was, we neglect the power of presence. Like, we don't really necessarily have to say much. We don't need to have to do much. Presence is like the biggest thing sometimes. Just being there. And I would teach our youth leaders, I was like, you're just showing up, like, and just being a consistent, like, staple in kids' lives. You may not be sitting there walking them through the hardest things of life, but you just being there says a whole lot more to them than anything else. And so fathers, like, just practicing being engaging, being present, start with that if you don't know what to do.
Yep.
Just hang out.
Yep.
Be there.
Get in their world.
Change that comes around from it. Yeah. In others, you're like, I'm doing that. Well, that's great. Well, what's the next thing that you could do? What's something else that you could do to engage your son in a way that when he grows up, he can look back and go, you know what? My dad was really engaged when it came to me and him. Like, our relationship, he was there for me.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, he may not have been perfect, but he was there, and that meant a lot to me. And so I say press for that. Agree.
So let's move on. The second one is abusive. And I got a story, more of a movie reference. It's certainly not personal experience. And I don't even remember the movie or the show it was, but I believe it had to do with a crime boss dad. And he and his son might have been 8 years old, 10 years old. They were in their library, the study, and it was one of those libraries that has the ladder on wheels that kind of goes, from one side of the room to the next, and floor to ceiling shelving with books. And so Dad says, get up on the ladder. And so the boys, I don't know, 4 or 5 rungs up on the ladder, and he says, jump. And the boy's like, are you sure? You're like, yep, I got you. Jump. I'm going to catch you. And back and forth a couple of times. And finally the boy decides, okay, I'm going to trust my dad. I'm going to jump. And at the moment the boy jumps, the dad steps out of the way and the kid crashes to the floor.
Oh.
And the dad steps over him and looks at him and says, don't ever trust anybody. And
oh my gosh,
Alen, it's been 20 years since I've seen that. And again, I don't remember the movie or the show, but it's always stuck with me because, what a lesson that kid learned. The one person in his life that he wanted to trust the most just failed him and said, don't trust anybody. That's just a form of abuse. But that's the story that came to mind, thinking about the emotional abuse, the verbal abuse, let alone the illegal physical abuse that happens, right, on the extreme end. We need to understand abuse here is more than just touching your kid in a destructive way. It's like the words that you use. Are you building up or are you tearing down? The episode that we just talked that just had last was on anger, right? Like exploding in anger. And what does your kid hear? What are the words that you're using? How about this one? Withholding affection, withholding emotion, withholding
Yeah.
even good physical touch, like just a simple hand on a shoulder or a scruff of the hair, or a pat on the back. Like withholding that stuff is in a sense abusive and neglectful to your child, and yet when you go the other way, it can be so powerful in a positive way.
Yeah. I can just hear like some folks who are listening say, well, that's how I grew up. And
right. That's right.
Or that's, this is how it is. Like, this is where I think where Christians may say, break the chain, or, in other words, like, there's something that's been like a generational like issue that has come down where, a father taught his father.
Yeah. It just gets passed
from his father, taught his son, and it passed to his son, get passed to his son. And it's like, I've made it a mission of mine to change how I parent my kids compared to how my folks parented me. And for those of you that have never heard my story, please go back to, I think it was one of the first few episodes of this podcast. I shared my story, but I came from an abusive background. My dad was divorced my mom before I was born, and my dad's gone. And when I do see him, he's one of those like, I don't really want you to be with me kind of moments all the time with him. And my mom was abusive with her words and with her fist. And, so like when it comes to like parenting, I don't want to parent like that. I don't want to do that. And I don't want to pass down learn things like to my folks and I'm sorry, from my folks to my kids. And so I've had to work really hard. And for those who are listening who are saying like, well, that's how it's done, I'm saying, well, you can definitely turn a leaf, and you can definitely break the chain, or you can definitely, however you want to put it, you can stop learned behavior from being passed on like to your kids.
That's right.
And like, I mean, I have countless of stories of where it's taken everything in me, where I've maybe shouted out at my kid, and then I go, wait a minute, that's what caused trauma in my life. Like, if I don't want the same for my son, I'm gonna have to do something different. And that approach means that I'm gonna have to do some soul searching and bring some healing to my own traumatic past experiences. And so, dads, if you're out there and you're listening, to okay, change the leaf. Well, how do you do that? You're gonna have to start changing, and you're gonna have to start bringing some healing to your own past experience, whether that's through counseling or whatever. And take some of those things and start teaching them to your kid. And that's my hope, is the things that I've learned, I'm hoping that I've been passing them on to my son and my daughters, so that way, as they won't have to, they don't have to struggle with the same stuff that I struggled with, because trauma, it stays with you.
That's right.
It just does. It stays with you. And they've shown, science has shown that traumatic experiences begin to even change how your brain physically looks, and so it brings change, and the change lasts with you, but you can turn a leaf, you can do things differently, but it's gonna take hard work, it's gonna take sweat. I ain't gonna lie to you, but it is possible to not be abusive, whether that's physically, emotionally, or whatever. You don't have to be. You don't have to be. It doesn't have to be that way.
Yeah.
You have the choice, though, and you be empowered by knowing that you have the choice to change it and to do something for the greater good of your son.
Yeah, that's right. The key message there is you can choose. You can choose to carry on, or you can choose to be different. Both of which are valid choices. one is beneficial and one continues the negative trend. But it's a choice. Yeah. It's a choice. Well, I know we only got through 2 of these father types, but we're going to break this episode here and then just continue on with the conversation in the next episode. And as promised, here's the information. Here's how you can join us on this fantastic event coming up on March 30th at Amaze. You can head out to our Facebook page at The Next Man Up 1 and find the event called Father and Son Escape Room Experience. Or you can head to our website, thenextmanup.com/events, and find all the information there. Get yourself signed up. There's early bird pricing that you want to take advantage of. And we just, we're really excited about this event, and we look forward to seeing you there. Hey listeners, thanks for journeying with us on this Next Man Up podcast. You know, we would love to hear from you. Maybe you have a question or an idea, perhaps a topic for us to consider. If that's you and you want to reach out to us, you can get us at feedback@thenextmanup.com. That's feedback@thenextmanup.com. Again, we'd love to hear from you. Until next time, we'll see you later.